ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about X-Force number 49, written by Benjamin Percy, with art by Robert Gill and color by Guru FX. The penultimate issue of X-Force is finally here. And for those that are wondering why I'm saying the penultimate, is because, well, obviously, issue 49, next issue is 50, and that is when X-Force is going to end. Actually, a lot of the X titles are about to end. Once X-Force hits 50, once Wolverine hits 50, those books will ultimately be relaunched and probably have entirely new creative teams. X-Men is going to be going back to brass tacks once we hit that relaunch. They're very likely just going to start with a core X-Men title, and then eventually we'll get onslaughted with 10 to 15 X books every single week. You know, the way God intended. But in this issue, we have two different versions of Beast to contend with. Now, if you're unfamiliar with everything that's going on lately with X-Force, go check out this video for X-Force number 48 to get a better idea of why there's two versions of Hank McCoy running around. That said, for now, the X-Force's evil Beast, I'm going to be referring to as Beast Prime. With the recently resurrected Beast, I'll be referring to him as either Defender's Beast or just simply Hank. So where did Defender's Beast run off to when he escaped from X-Force's custody last issue? We saw that he was very clearly distraught over knowing who he's ultimately going to become in the future, realizing he's going to be a whole supervillain, something that at the time, at least around the time of Defenders, seemed very antithetical to who Beast ultimately was. So he ran off to find a familiar face, as the cover of this issue would tell you. He's looking for his old best pal, Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, a guy who was not only a friend to him, but also a fellow Avenger. Hank needs someone he knows he can trust, and while the Wonder Man of today is not quite Wonder Man as Hank remembers him, he's still someone he knows he can put his faith in to help him in these very trying and confusing times. Defender's Beast knows that Beast Prime is a whole problem, and while he doesn't exactly trust X-Force either, because he is keenly aware they are trying to kill him, so he knows they'll never truly trust him unless he does what they can't, and that is get Beast Prime. His exact plan is unclear right now, but the mission is crystal. If anyone would know where and what Beast Prime is going to do next, it would be Hank, and he's going to need Wonder Man, because while Beast Prime and Hank have the same powers, abilities, weaknesses, so on and so forth, Beast Prime has access to Krakoan battle armor, and Hank knows this, so some extra firepower is nice to have. And Wonder Man, despite his pacifist nature these days, has access to powers that would likely put Beast Prime's Krakoan battle armor to shame. For those unfamiliar with Wonder Man and his abilities, he possesses superhuman attributes that make him a whole problem for people on his bad side. He has strength on par with, and in a lot of cases, greater than Colossus, which is greater than 100 tons. He has speed on par with Hulk, who can move, despite his size, faster than an Olympic level athlete. His skin is ionized, making him effectively invulnerable on levels you'd associate with characters like Thor and Hulk, and even when he is hurt, he has a regenerative healing factor thanks to his ionic body, and this also makes it so he has no limits to his stamina either, and his reflexes and agility are beyond anything Captain America could pull off. He's maybe just short of Spider-Man in that category. But his bread and butter is his optical ion blasts, and these blasts he can also fire from his hands as well, but these blasts are incredibly destructive, and he can also manipulate the same ion energy to make power constructs reminiscent of something you would probably associate with early days Green Lantern rings, but the forms he can make are largely limited to just energy shields. And while Magneto is still the master of magnetism, Wonder Man is capable of manipulating electromagnetic energy. He can even sense and absorb it. And if that weren't enough, he's also effectively immortal, and he can fly, as well as has the capacity to teleport at will. And his range doesn't even seem to have a precise limit. Now that I've said all that, why doesn't Wonder Man get used very much? Well, you could probably blame DC for that. It's a long story we don't have time for here, so maybe I'll talk about it in another video. But the point of the matter here is Wonder Man is the perfect weapon against Beast Prime, because it would be safe to say that despite the fact that Beast Prime is incredibly intelligent, we have seen him overlook very specific details because he is so confident, he is so egotistical in his intelligence that he just doesn't seem to think about the very obvious things. We have seen this over the course of both X-Force and Wolverine, where Beast Prime has been caught slipping because he underestimated someone, because he just assumed because he was smarter that they wouldn't be able to keep up with him. We've seen him literally say to X-Force themselves that he is smarter than them and that anything they could possibly think of to stop him, he's already thought of it. And yet, they have gotten a one-up on him at least once. So he's not all-knowing as he might believe. And you would imagine, considering based on some things we see Wonder Man mention in this issue, he mentions that he hasn't talked to Beast in quite some time, which is why he is so surprised when he sees Hank in his apartment. It's safe to say that Beast Prime thinks nothing of Simon Williams, or at the very least, he thinks about him, but he doesn't really think of him very often. There's a reason why the Defenders version of Beast was the only backup that was not deleted by Beast Prime. It's likely because there is some deeper connection there that he wants to remember, but it's still one of those things that he doesn't think very much about. And it is safe to assume that Beast wants to be stopped in some way, because he even leaves a audio message effectively telling people how to undo what it is he's about to do, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But yes, Wonder Man is the perfect person for Beast to have by his side as an ally, because he's also going to need Wonder Man to keep X-Force off his ass, because right now they are preparing to annihilate him before he even gets the opportunity to stop Beast Prime. So this is something I think will ultimately come to the typical superhero misunderstanding, and the X-Force are probably going to get slapped up a bit by Wonder Man, just kind of to show people that Wonder Man is still that guy, despite the fact that people largely sleep on him, and probably still will even up to and maybe even after Wonder Man makes his debut in the MCU. But that's neither here nor there. Speaking of allies, one other weird thing that comes up is Namor apparently is imprisoned currently. We don't really know how this happened, because some of the last couple of times I've seen Namor in comics, which I actually went and looked this up, the last time that he appeared in anything was in Captain America number 750. A couple of other little stuff here and there, but it was like anthology related stuff. He was not in prison, so at some point in time Orcus got their hands on him, and we don't really know how. I don't know, he has been largely MIA for a lot of the mutant proceedings since House of X began, so the fact that they captured him, that's something I would have loved to have seen played out. But anyway, getting back to Beast Prime though, what has he been up to? Well, we know for a fact he's been stealing nuclear reactors. Now the question is, why is he stealing those? And that's because he is trying to build his own version of Forge's black hole gun, which we recently saw in Children of the Vault number 4. He plans to use this device, a giant cannon that literally does what it says on the tin, create black holes. It fires them at whatever it's pointed at, and he wants to use this to destroy Arakko, effectively destroying all mutants there, and anyone powerful enough to survive would be trapped inside of that singularity forever. And once he's done that, he plans on tackling the human problem. But why go after Arakko? Beast seems to be of the belief ending Arakko will fix some of his problems. But why though? Beast Prime is a smart guy and likely up to speed on events as of late. Methinks it's because he realizes that once Arakko brings all its mutants to Earth to fight Orcus, as they do in Fall of the House of X, and mind you, this does take place before the Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of 10, he knows once they're done with Orcus, they're going to come after him next, because he is persona non grata for all of mutant kind right now. While he's still pro-mutant, he isn't so pro-mutant, he won't kill other mutants to protect himself. And the mutants on Arakko are a special breed, especially considering they've welcomed Storm and Sunspot among their ranks, and even the return of Apocalypse himself. Even Genesis and her Horsemen of the Apocalypse, they're not aligned with Storm and the mutants of Arakko, but they're right next to Arakko currently, having recently taken over Orcus's base on Phobos, which is a moon of Arakko. Together or separate, each of these factions would be a whole problem for Beast Prime. You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.